Hey guys, welcome to the video. Today we're going to talk about something that is a little bit more philosophical, I think, and not necessarily a hard skill, more of a soft skill, I guess, in Heroes of the Storm, but it will help you win a lot of games in Hero League and just make you a better player. That being said, it is very difficult to acquire, and I'm talking about playing more active and less reactive. So basically, knowing what is going to happen next instead of reacting when something happens. To give you a simple example is here there's a tribute spawning in 7 seconds. So instead of reacting to this tribute spawning when the alarm goes off, the 30-second warning, you already know 15 seconds before the warning that a tribute is spawning, and therefore you're doing something. That could be a camp, for example, or it could be a rotation, or you could try to get a lot of XP in the last couple of seconds before the tribute spawns. So that would be a more active gameplay instead of reacting to the spawn. Another couple of examples would be knowing exactly the heroic cooldowns, or at least the heroic abilities of the enemy team, and that's something that actually a lot of people don't do, I think. The bar obviously here in the replay is showing you all talents, but you can see the heroics of the enemy team in-game as well if you're just looking at the top, but then also, for example, looking at here at the score screen, which talents have been taken and which heroics have been taken. So, for example, then knowing that if the team is very low and they have a Mephisto on the enemy team, that Tormented Souls, not Tormented Souls, whatever it's called, Souls, something, it's going to kill you all using the abilities to negate damage like Spell Shield as soon as it's cast. Like, you're waiting for this to happen, so you turn off your Spell Shield, you know that Consume Souls, I think it's called, it's going to be cast, and then you turn on your Spell Shield. Another example would be to exactly know when to use your abilities in combination with somebody else. So let's stick with the Consume Souls example. If you're an Ana and you have Nano Boost, you wait until the Consume Souls is cast, and then you use Nano Boost instead of just using it randomly on somebody on your team. On top of that, it's also knowing what the enemy team is doing and what the enemy team thinks you will be doing. That can be a little bit harder, especially in Hero League. It's a little bit more random. In Pro Play, it's very, very common to know exactly what's going on, because there's a very, I want to say, well-known meta about like not fighting a talent tier down. If you're a talent tier down, you're going to soak instead of going to the objective, and then there's a little bit of dances around, like interrupting things and stuff like that. But in Hero League, you might not have the chance to all, do this exactly like they do in Pro Play. First of all, there's less communication in Hero League, and then also, obviously, you can't really control your teammates and what they're doing. But if you know what the enemy team is doing or what they're supposed to be doing, you can get an advantage. You can, for example, sneak a camp on your side, or you can take their boss if they're on the other side of the map, because they're taking a tribute, for example. So I personally have a lot of trouble playing more active and not reacting too much to things. It's also that you need to know a lot about the game. Like, you need to know every hero and their heroic abilities and even the talents to know what to do. For example, if you play Murky and you play Octograb, but the enemy team has Uther with Cleanse or Hand of Protection, whatever it's called, and you use it on anybody else but Uther, you basically lose your heroic cooldown for a cooldown that might be ready less than 30 seconds in the future. So knowing these little things are important, but there are a lot of these things. We have 80+ heroes, we have a lot of different abilities and talents that change things, and knowing all this can be very difficult. But if you are at the level to know all of these things, the next step would be to be more active, to predict more things, and then go from there. I personally would also advise you, as I said in another video about winning in Hero League, to have a small hero pool that you can play perfectly. If you play them blind and you can, hit all the buttons, you hit all the talents all the time, you know exactly how the talents work with each other and work with other teammates, then you can probably take the next step and play more active. If you don't know your hero and you're like basically looking at talents and which talents to pick, and I'm opening hot stocks on the side to see what talent to pick, you're going to be so busy just looking at your own hero that it's very, very difficult to also look on what's going to happen on the enemy side of things. Last point, this is also something that you can learn very easily by just, first of all, focusing on small things. So I'm looking at the minimap a lot and then predicting where heroes are going and understanding that you might be at risk or you can find a good opportunity to gank. These are the little steps you can take to be more active, and instead of just like, oh, I walked top and then suddenly there was a Nazeebo that has been there for 15 seconds and I've seen him on the minimap, I'm going to try to gank him now. Instead of that, like 30 seconds ago, you actually see the Nazeebo, you see how he's aggressively pushing because he wants stacks, so you initiate the rotation earlier and then gank him. These are the little things that you can work on to know. And we're going to go through a couple of gameplay situations now from this Method versus Liquid game to give you a little bit more insight of what I mean with it, and I think also how to learn these things a little bit. So we're going to hopefully, yes, remove the UI so you can see a little bit more of what I'm talking about when we go into the vision of Nurok. So Nurok here is going to get ganked in a couple of seconds. The reason why it's getting ganked is because Method wants to force a fight here because they're below level 16 and Liquid is going to get level 16 before Method. So Nurok is a good target because Tirana doesn't have a lot of escapes and he's actually in a very safe position, you would say. There's a fort here and there's a wall here, so Nurok knows he's rather safe, but he definitely has to be careful because there's a lot of hard CC on the enemy team. There's Dragon's Arrow from Hanzo, they have an Anub'arak, the Maiev can like pull him in and everything. So let's see what happens here. So he walks up and he sees them pushing here and they know that they want to have this fort and they don't really want to give it up for free because again, Liquid is close to level 16. So there's a little bit of poke and now look at this. Bad Benny makes the engagement to Nurok. It fades a little bit because the burrow charge is, I want to say, off the target, but that being said, it zones Nurok towards the fort here and then also towards the other CC that they have. So now let's have a look at how Nurok is reacting, because obviously, first of all, he wants to dodge the burrow stun, which, you know, the way that he's walking already was very given. But Nurok knows the next thing that a Anub'arak wants to do is follow up with his Q. So he wants to burrow strike, doesn't hit, but then he wants to use his Q to stun him to at least set up some form of CC here. So let's have a look. Nurok turns around, clicks very heavily around here because he doesn't want to walk towards this area as he knows that will make it easier for them to control him. So he basically dodges it a little bit more, but also makes it unpredictable where he's going to go. So he walks up, he immediately uses Shadow Melt, I think it's called. Anyway, he gets invisible for a very quick second. Oh, it's called a stealth, how it is. It's not invisible anymore. But he gets stealthed, which means while it's only an outline and it probably on this level will not make a lot of difference, this also activates a heal. That means if he takes damage now over the next couple of seconds, he also gets healed from his heroic. So preventively, he hasn't taken a lot of damage from the poke of Hanzo earlier, but he knows that this can be hairy. Like he looks at this and he's like, okay, this is gonna be escalating quickly. So he uses his heroic preemptively to be ready for any damage taken. So now Anub'arak is positioning himself, and there's a little bit of mind games obviously here and also a little bit of luck. So you normally want to use the Q as an Anub'arak to prevent Nurok to go into the fort here, to go into the wall. So basically you can wait until he walks over here into this direction and then Q him. But they also need to really go here because the enemy team has Dehaka and they're reaching level 16 soon. So they might be collapsing here in this fort, which, you know, will do damage in like 3 minions. So here comes the Q. Nurok dodges it, but he also dodges something else, which is the Dragon Arrow. And his movement is actually very, very clever because he faked going up. And for these two to hit together, they have to hit at the same point. So he moves down all the way. And the only thing that's going to hit him now is the Maiev auto attack. And then he gets pulled. So now the enemy team has used a lot of things just to get this gank, and as you can see, he didn't even take that much damage, and Team Liquid can fight here now into this. Obviously, this has a lot to do with reaction time, and it is like in part reactionary, like, hey, there's a Anub'arak boring to me, I'm going to react in a certain way. But it also shows you that he definitely knew, hey, these guys are ganking me, I'm going to use a couple of my abilities, or at least my heroic ability with Shadowstalk, to prevent me dropping on to health levels that are dangerous right away. Again, there's a little bit of lack of dodging spells and you know, not being hit by a couple of things, but it's important that you know what is going to happen. Like I've seen a lot of people when Anub'arak Boros strikes into them, they just stand still afterwards. Like the stun wears off and they just stand still. Or they dodge the Burrow Strike, but then they walk in a straight line and Anub'arak just cues them. That's something that you just have to know, like, hey, Anub'arak has these two abilities and they normally follow up on each other. On top of that, here, he knew that Nick was going to do the Dragon's Arrow, and Nick, on the other hand, knew exactly where he wants to put the Dragon's Arrow, which is around the area where Anub'arak stuns Tyrande. Because that's also something that you need to know as an assassin. Like, obviously, the ability here failed now, but it was the correct play. Anub'arak burrowed in, there was the Q stun coming out, and if the Q stun hits and then the Dragon's Arrow comes flying in, Nuruk is stunned for even longer. So that's also something that is, you know, playing, knowing exactly what's going to happen, and not just like, oh, the Q stun has hit, now I'm using my Dragon Arrow. If you want to get better at heroes, you need to be more active, and it will mean that you miss sometimes, but if you hit it, it will be perfect, and it will give you a much more bigger advantage than if you just use the abilities, you know, kinda after your tank started to follow up on things, and it will make you basically waste a little bit of time CCing or give the enemy time to react to things. Cool. With that out of the way, we're going to look at two more scenes from this game to give you a little bit more of insight on what these pros do and what you should be doing as well. So here we are on a different situation. Method is here pushing, and I want to again highlight Nuruk's play because it actually makes a lot of sense in terms of how good the pros are and things that you should do and learn from them. So we're going to look at the team fight from the zoomed out position. We can see here the cocoon has been used on Garrosh. Method wants to basically disengage. Arcana uses his disintegration to open the cocoon. This is something also that I see a lot of people do wrong when they play Li Ming. They either go Force of Will for against Anub'arak, which is a mistake in itself, but then using Disintegrate on something that is not the cocoon. You should always keep this to open the cocoon unless you're the target, obviously, then you can use it. So, Liquid wants to fight here. Dehaka burrowed in pretty aggressively, and Method, as you can see, has a little bit of a problem because their offlaner is a little bit further away, so they don't really want to fight. They're also talent here down, so meh. But here's where it gets fun. Did you see this? Did you see the reaction? How quickly this happened? The Stay a While and Listen wasn't active for more than a second, and it hit the Phoenix. It could have hit the Li Ming as well, but it was immediately hit by Nuruk. And that's exactly, look how far away he is, and we're going to look into his vision in a second, but this basically decides the team fight, because there's no CC anymore. The Anub'arak then has to like be completely controlled, and they're going to fight here and get a couple of kills, or at least they get one kill and then defend the fort as well. Well, they get a second kill here. There you go. So again, we're going to look into the position that Nuruk is in, and also give his point of view of this. Just to show you exactly how strong this is, and how well played this is. So they're doing this camp here, and this is his vision. Like, this is how he sees it. He knows now, okay, they're fighting here, and he has heard in communications, we're going to collapse on this. Look where his camera is. He doesn't look at his hero. Like, a lot of people that I see playing, they look only at the hero. They don't know how to move the camera around to not look at the hero. And the reason why this is important is that you can predict a couple of things, but also it gives you a much better understanding of what's happening in the fight instead of looking at your hero and then you walk there and then you move your camera to the fight, because at that point the fight might have been already decided. So he moves back to the hero to know where he's walking, and now look how he positions his camera now in a second. For him, there's a couple of things he wants to do as Tyrande. First of all, he wants to heal everybody, obviously. Second of all, he wants to use his stun to set up a kill, possibly. But he has Garrosh in his team, so more likely he wants to follow up on the throw from Garrosh and then stun the target. Because the Tyrande stun, while it flies very quickly and has a high range, it's difficult to hit a moving target, even for pro players. I want to say, especially for pro players, because, you know, other pros are good at dodging things and, you know, again, also thinking about what's going to happen to them. So the main target for him to stun would be Deckard. He has no movement speed. He doesn't have any, you know, movement abilities. And he also has an ability that is very, very crucial for method to win a fight, which is stay a while and listen. So he looks all the way up here. Like, look where his camera is. His hero is down here. He doesn't have his hero in the center, which is, by the way, also why you never should have locked camera on you, because it teaches you a lot of wrong things, but that's a different topic. So now he sees all of this. He sees the heroes, and he also has his vision on Deckard. Now look at the green dots, like the green dots here. These markings is where he clicks. And look how quickly he sees the cast of Stay a While and Listen happen. Look at his green dots. Immediately the dots are here. Immediately he knows what he wants to do. He sees this cast coming. He obviously might also hear the audio cue of Deckard clearing his throat and starting to talk. And it's up. It's sleeping one person. Look at Garrosh, by the way, as well. He obviously also sees this and he uses Indomitable. And then Deaka gets hit, but he also gets some damage, so it's not really that important for him. But look how quickly Nurok cancels this and also hits an owl to do some more damage. This, on the other hand, is very well played by Aethero, because he just immediately uses the disc, and if he used it a little earlier, he probably would have stopped the Stay a While and Listen from being interrupted. But look how great this was played. We're gonna have another look at this just to show you how you should be playing this game once you control your heroes. Again, they make the call. Obviously, again, this is something that will probably not happen in Hero League, where you collapse this quickly. But now, vision on the fight, vision on the fight, vision on him, vision on the fight, vision on the fight. He sees the Stay a While and Listen happening, immediately clicks into this position and stuns him. They overlap a little bit because Garrosh throws Anub'arak here, but as you can see, it's luck, because he throws the Anub'arak. He wanted to throw the Deckard to interrupt the Stay a While and Listen. So this teamwork is also amazing by Team Liquid. There's always somebody knowing things. But again, they don't react to the Stay a While and Listen. They know that this is going to happen. Like, and I'm only guessing this because I'm not in the voice tools, obviously, from Team Liquid. But from my experience, it's like giving these short commands also on voice, like, hey, Stay a While, Listen is up. They might be using it, obviously in a shorter form or whatever, but these are things that you should be going through in your head. What is the move if I move up here, or if we want to engage into them? What is the enemy team doing to prevent me from killing them? And Stay a While and Listen is a great tool to, like, CC. And again, it's up for a second or so, and that's something that you should strive to as well. You should be able to understand what abilities are going to be used and how you're going to react to those. Obviously, there's some things where you don't have vision, or somebody, interrupts you, or stuff happens. That's fine. But if you know that this is happening, you already do your team a huge favor, because you're basically helping a lot to just recognize these things and might interrupt people. We're going to look at one last scene in this game, which is from Arcana, and you might have seen it on Reddit as well. But again, this is something that really shows you how good these guys are, but also things that you should know, and you should know how to react to. So for the last bit of this video, we're going to look at Arcana, and again, you might have seen this on Reddit. He's dodging a cocoon from Anub'arak. So we're going to slow it down to the normal game speed here. Team Liquid is very much close to winning this, and Arcana dodges here the first stun. That's all fine and good, and we're going to give you normal speed of this happening, and you might actually miss it. There you go. I don't know if you saw this, but we're going to look at this again a little bit forward, and then we're going to slow it down, and then again, one last time, we're going to look at it into the perspective of Arcana as well. So this is happening. Dragon Arrow goes out, and now Arcana knows that the cocoon might be coming out to him. Again, he has been basically destroying the cocoon all game long, so he's actually a very good target for the cocoon. And Benny gets stunned again here. And if you're really good, if you're like a very young player and have great, excellent reflexes, you might do this without knowing that it's coming. But I want to say that Arcana knows that the possibility is there. So in his mind, in my opinion, there's always this thought, hey, there's Anub'arak, he might web me and then I need to dodge it. And here it is in slow-mo. You can see the net already when it's casted. And this is where you actually have to press the button. Here it's flying, and he's dodging it by teleporting away. And there you go. That's how you dodge it. Let's have one last look into this without the UI so you can actually see a little bit more. There you go. We go into Arcana's vision and then slow it down again. This fight is pretty easy to win because there's not that much that Method can do. So Arcana just plays defensively, jumps back here, and then once the core is down to this health, they basically know that they have won, realistically. But these small showings of skill is also what makes these guys so good at the game, because they show like, hey, even if you did this, I would have been able to counter this. So you look, he's clicking, and now he knows what's happening. He already knows exactly what's going on. You can see he has magic missiles off of cooldown, but he's not using them. He knows what's happening here, and here's the teleporting goes away. Again, this is also a sign of reactive playing. Don't get me wrong, obviously he's reacting to the spell, but for me personally, if I played Li Ming in the situation and this was like a diamond level game, I would have not even thought about Anub'arak hitting me with a spell at this point. I would have only looked at the core and be like, yes, we're winning. Look at how low the core is and look how much health the golem has. That would be the two things that I would have been looking at this point of the game. So to reiterate what I wanted to say wanted to express with this video is like, once you start looking more at the big picture of Heroes of the Storm and understanding the whole game, it's going to be easier for you to win games because you can make these minuscule decisions that have actually huge impacts. Like, you can be the one that interrupts a hard CC. You can be the one that gets like a 5-man mosh pit because you exactly know how the enemies are going to walk up through this, small narrow pathway that they're going through for some reason, and you just get that. You are going to be the person that, sneaks away with the tribute because you baited them to come to you on Dehaka, and then you burrow top and there's nobody from them and you just get the tribute. Like, this is something that you have to learn step by step, and there's nothing that you can just like train. You just can't start up Heroes of the Storm and go into training mode and it's like, I'm doing this now and then I'm getting better at it. But you take little steps towards this. Again, the beginning definitely is to just like know all of the heroes, or at least all of the competitive viable heroes. And once you're there, just, start understanding what are the things that these heroes do well together, or what heroes on the enemy team will cause the most disruption for us. And then from there on, you just have to, continue to work on all of these things, being more in your mind, being more present in your mind to understand when things are going to happen to you. On top of that, again, as I said, the simplest thing, in my opinion, is to just go and your every game and look at two things. Look at the minimap and see opportunities and or dangers that might be coming up to you and to the enemy team. And then the second thing is always know which heroics are going to be picked. And again, honestly, like, I struggle with this a lot. I mean, I'm only playing Diamond and sometimes a little bit low master, but I'm not the best player in on this planet. But with the rating I have, I'm in the top 10% or top 15% of the population of Heroes of the Storm. And I make a lot of mistakes, and I oftentimes do not look at the heroics. Like, the enemy reaches level 10, I'm happy that there's an announcement in the game that, warns me of this. But then I just completely blank because I have to do something, or I have to think about something, or I want to like make a play, and then just completely miss on what heroics they have. And generally speaking, it's not that bad. You will see what heroics they have once they use it. But if you know before, and if you can prepare against that mosh pit and be out of range of the ETC queue, you can react to things. So go start with these two tips. Look at the minimap a lot. Try to understand those situations where you can find an opportunity to gank somebody or to escape a gank. And then second, just put a post-it on your PC, like on your monitor, that says read the heroics. And then once the enemy team reaches level 10, you just look at the heroics, you understand which heroics it are they chose, which symbol it is, what the symbol means, which heroic it is. And if you don't know, just like also know which ability they have with that, like what does this heroic do. That's it for me. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this helped you a little bit, and I see you next time. Have a good one. Bye bye.